Justin Gaethje could complete historic $1 million feat with win over Paddy Pimblett at UFC 324. Throughout his UFC career, Justin Gaethje has become used to earning post-fight bonuses because of his violent style. On January 24, the first numbered event of the UFC's new broadcast deal takes place as Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett clash for the interim lightweight title in the UFC 324 main event. Earlier this year, the highlighter threatened to retire from the sport if he wasn't awarded with a title shot considering his reliability over the years. And although he wasn't awarded the undisputed title fight he was after, the 37-year-old was picked to fight for the interim title after Ilia Topuria announced he was stepping away from the sport for some time. To kick off the year, Gaethje will be hoping to once again put on an incredible show by continuing his reputation as the most violent fighter in the sport. Justin Gaethje could reach $1 million in post-fight UFC bonuses. When the highlighter was signed to the premier MMA promotion back in 2017, he came in with a reputation of violence. In 9 fights with World Series of Fighting, now known as the PFL, Gaethje finished 8 of them, with just one of his fights having gone to a decision. The Arizonan was then matched up with veteran Michael Johnson in his UFC debut, and despite the menace having picked up wins over some of the best fighters in the division, Gaethje rendered him unconscious in round 2 after landing a huge knee. For his efforts, Gaethje was awarded with $100,000 after winning both Performance of the Night and Fight of the Night, kicking off his UFC career in a perfect way. Despite back-to-back losses following his debut, the highlighter still earned $100,000 for both fights being Fight of the Night. He then bounced back with 4 wins in a row, earning performance-based bonuses in each one. In fact, the only 2 fights of his 14-fight UFC career that he didn't earn a bonus was his 2 losses to Khabib Nurmagomedov and Charles Oliveira. At UFC 300, despite being on the wrong end of one of the most insane KOs in UFC history, Gaethje still earned a whopping $300,000 bonus for another Fight of the Night. Regardless of the result when he takes on the baddie, Gaethje could reach $1 million in post-fight bonuses, as he currently sits at $950,000. Gaethje could join former foe with bonus win at UFC 324. Already holding the title as the most violent fighter in the sport, given to him by Joe Rogan, Gaethje could join his former foe by reaching $1 million in post-fight bonuses. The aforementioned Oliveira became the first fighter to reach the feat when he beat Michael Chandler in their rematch at UFC 309. Joe Rogan labeled Justin Gaethje the most violent fighter in the UFC just days before career best win. Just days out from one of Justin Gaethje's biggest fights of his career, he received the highest praise from UFC icon Joe Rogan. On January 24, Justin Gaethje will compete for the interim lightweight title for a second time when he takes on Paddy Pimblett in the UFC 324 main event. The 37-year-old has been a popular fixture in the 155 pounds division since 2017 when he debuted in the promotion against Michael Johnson. And ever since then, the highlight has lived up to his nickname and has put on several incredible shows in the octagon. But not many were as impressive as his performance over Tony Ferguson back in 2020. Joe Rogan labeled Gaethje the most violent fighter in the UFC. Back in 2020 when Khabib Nurmagomedov reigned over the lightweight division, the COVID-19 pandemic hit which left the Russian unable to defend his title against Ferguson. And because of that, the promotion booked an interim title fight between El Chuchuy and Gaethje on short notice for UFC 249. Just a few days before the event, UFC icon Joe Rogan was asked for his thoughts on the fight, and during a passionate rant, he labeled the highlight the most violent fighter in the sport. Justin Gaethje is a monster, Justin Gaethje is a monster. He's a monster, Rogan said during an episode of his podcast. He's a terrifying individual. In a sport that's violent, it's an inherently violent sport, he stands out as the most violent. Do you know how crazy that is? Have you ever watched his knockout of Edson Barboza? You watch how that motherf attacks people, there's a reckless abandonment to his calculated wildness, which is terrifying. Not long after, Gaethje stepped into the cage in Florida and put on one of his career best performances, utterly battering Ferguson over 5 rounds. In some ways, Gaethje is credited for being the one who put an end to Ferguson's MMA career, as his loss to The Highlight was the beginning of an 8-fight losing streak, which ended with his release from the UFC. Justin Gaethje has earned a whopping amount of money from bonuses. Not only does being labeled as the most violent fighter in the sport come with big privilege, but it also comes with a lot of money. In 14 UFC fights, the highlight has earned 14 bonuses, taking his total to $950,000, one of the most in UFC history for post-fight bonuses.